Well, hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and many of you who follow the show know that most of the time I get the opportunity to interview some of the best and brightest, the marketers, the entrepreneurs, the leaders in the business world that sort of inspire us and lift us up and try to teach us to be better. And that is super exciting for me, and it's sort of what I always call like my weekly education process. And so every once in a while, we'll do what we call an Ask Kirby edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. You may remember that I used to do it where it was 3 questions for the guest and then 1 question for me. And I've cut out the question for me. And so sometimes these Ask Kirby editions give people an opportunity to kind of dig in and just ask some specific questions that they'd like to hear my 2 cents on. And, a few times ago, we kind of wanted to up that a little bit. Those have been fun to do and edit and curate, but doing a live version of the Ask Kirby Delivering Marketing Joy is at least more interesting for me. I'd say it's nerve-wracking because you just never know what kind of questions we're going to get. And so that's what we're going to do today. This is the live Ask Kirby edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. So if you are watching, we want to hear from you. If you have questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments, and the good folks at Promo Corner, who this is exclusively provided by, will be fielding those questions and throwing them to me, and I'll do my best to answer them and keep this train rolling. So if you have any questions, please let me know. That's sort of the purpose of this. I'll do my best to answer them honestly and provide you a little bit of value. So the way I'm going to start is I do have one. We just wanted to have one question queued up from Jessica Onions was the first person who asked. She was unable to jump on here because she's got some really amazing life events going on, which is exciting. So congrats, Jessica, if you're hearing this. And her first question to me was, what does your writing process look like? What does your writing process look like? I love this question. So I think many of us who either are content creators or are aspiring content creators are looking to look for that magic button or that magic process. But I would say first things first is you sort of need to know yourself. There are people who sort of thrive on the chaos. They could work in a crowded coffee shop. They could work at the kitchen table with all kinds of things going on around them. They can work with the TV on. I'm not that guy. I really like to have a place where I'm quiet and that I can really focus and single task on the thing that I'm doing. And I think the brain will tell you that it's good for you to have a place where you do the work, right? So for me, I have a home office. I get up 5 a.m. to 5:30 every morning, get my cups of coffee, and I have actually started writing a blog post every single day at kirbyhassman.com. I actually am not promoting them all, but it gives me a place to sort of flex that creative muscle every day and push some good out into the world. And so when I get that cup of coffee, I sit down at a specific place and a pretty specific time. I open up, the program. I use WordPress to write this blog. And when I get into that spot and get sort of that blank screen ahead of me, I feel like my brain sort of knows, okay, it's time to write. Now, I think another piece that would be some piece of advice to you would be give yourself permission to not be perfect. When I started this process of writing every day, I think the thing that holds us back is like, okay, every blog has to be perfect. Every blog has to be 300 or 500 or 1,000 words. And what I sort of gave myself permission to do was to say, the blog could be a sentence long. That's it, right? I just need to get started. And what I found is when I give myself permission to just get started, I almost always write more than that, right? A similar process for me for my workout, right? My whole thing, and my whole thing is like give myself permission to go downstairs, which is where my treadmill's at. And I do that by saying, look, I'm just gonna walk, right? I'm just gonna walk and get myself started, get my blood flowing. And what I find is once I start walking on the treadmill, then, I feel a little better. Maybe I run a little bit more, but I start with that process by allowing myself to not be perfect. And I think the same is true with content. I gave myself permission to write whatever came to my mind. And as Brandon had commented there, you give yourself permission to do content that's not great, right? And when you do that, it's just like fitness. You're flexing a muscle and you get better at it, right? And so that would be my process and I think final thought on that is that I try to do it every day. The reality of it is when you do something every day and you flex that muscle, you work on something, you work on your craft, whatever that is, whether it's a video, a blog post, walking on the treadmill, you tend to get better at it. And so that is sort of what my process looks like. All right, next question. Amelia Model, thank you so much. Hi, Kirby. What is your favorite piece of content that you have created, past or current? Oh, man, that's a really, really good one. It's like I've heard somebody say it's like picking some of your favorite children, right? I think the thing that pops into mind is still delivering marketing joy. Obviously, not necessarily the Ask Kirby edition of it, but the delivering marketing joy is what I would call my OG of content. I'm proud of it because a couple things. Number one, it shares platforms. It gives other people a voice, and we share audiences. And then the reality of it is it's consistent. Every single Wednesday we do something, whether it's a live edition or another edition that comes out. And so I think the idea of consistency, the idea of just being able to share platforms and learn from other people really helped me grow. And then the reality of it is then, by doing that, it just shows that consistency, and I'm really proud of that. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to look through my contents here. What is your favorite piece of content to produce? Which was what Meg Erber just asked me. Delivering marketing joy still is. I will say that I do love creating video of any kind. So if you follow my video content, I definitely I have my own YouTube channel, and so I do a lot of things based around Coshocton, and I enjoy doing just sort of fun day in the life vlogs. I'm not sure those are as fun for the audience, but man, I dig it. I dig it for just the creation and the perspective, the creativity process. Rich Graham, what's your booze of choice for St. Patty's Day? By the way, awesome question, perfectly timely. I am kind of a traditionalist, right? So I like the green beer. I'm a beer drinker, as anybody who knows me, much to my wife's chagrin. Beer is my favorite beverage of choice. I like beer better than I like soda or whatever. So I'll go in on the green, whatever that is. That might be an IPA, which would probably be my beer of choice right now. But I'm going to color that bad boy green. Let's see. Somebody says, what percentage of your content is planned with an editorial calendar compared to spontaneous content? Ooh, that's a really good one. So I would say that what I like to do is have sort of my foundational pieces of content, right? So Monday Minute, which Josette Bossi just commented on, she's my number one fan when it comes to she's my number one fan when it comes to the Monday Minute. I love doing that. That's every Monday. Then every Wednesday, of course, I have Delivering Marketing Joy. And then on Friday, I have Promo Up Front, the podcast. And so those allow sort of foundational pillars around my content. And then it becomes much more spontaneous. Like I said, I'm writing a blog post every day at kirbyhossman.com. I'm actually not promoting them every day. I just, it allows me to do that flexing of muscles, but then I can talk about what's ever on my mind. DMJ, I'm scheduling way out, which is wonderful for me. But like when you read a blog from me that day, it means it was very, very much on my mind, something I was thinking about, something I was talking about. And I think that allows for me to provide fairly, like consistent, but also topical content. And then again, man, the videos is where I can really get creative and have some fun on that. So next question. On my daily blogs, do you publish everything as is, or do I go back and tweak? I would say that for the most part, I just publish it as is. I use Grammarly. Grammarly is I think there's a paid version, but I use the free app that just kind of helps me make sure I haven't done any egregious errors. And I'll go back and read through it one time just to make sure I've said what I meant to say. And then I hit publish. I think that when people look at the level of content I create, one of the things is like, how do you do it? And I think that the number one thing is that I'm willing to push publish. I'm willing to do something that might or might not be perfect. It might or might not be popular, but showing up every day and pushing it out there allows me to kind of get better each day. I think so many people are just paralyzed by perfection and going back and tweaking and doing it over. And, I think that perfection is the enemy of progress. And so if you want to do more content, I think you have to be willing to be imperfect. Let's see. What is a piece of advice that you wish you knew sooner? Man, that's a great question. Hallie Moore with that one. I'm going to go with, you don't have to participate in every argument you're invited to. I still really struggle with this, right? The reality of it is I just want to get people to understand my side of things, and I want to talk through things, and I'm living through that right now. I think that sometimes people will say things that are designed to draw you off sides and are designed to really take you off the path you're meant to be going down. And so sometimes you don't need to respond. And I personally struggle with that, but you don't have to participate in every argument you're invited to. That's probably something I wish I would have known when I was 18. Hi, Kirby. Do you think the landscape around brands standing up for societal issues has changed in the last few years? Oh man, this is a great question. Joel Moore, what are your current recommendations? Yes, 100% has it changed. It has, and I personally think for the better, right? I think you're seeing this right now with the war in Ukraine. But I think that some of the best brands, the ones who are most consistent with their mission, have been doing this for years. Sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes on the front lines and promoting it. And there's a lot of great brands out there doing it. What are my current recommendations on this? I think it's really good and really important to be willing to stand. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? So be willing to stand up, but only if it's really, really, really consistent with not only the leader of the organization, but the whole culture of the organization. Where I see people making mistakes is they feel like it's important to be purpose driven, but they don't have a purpose. So they're creating it around the flavor of the month. I don't think that's great. So one of the things I was just talking about with Brandon offline is that I have recently created a piece of content that's been very controversial, but I believe in it. And so I'm willing to take the backlash because I think it's the right thing to do. But let me just tell you, as someone who's going down this road, man, there's been several times where I've thought, I don't know if it's worth it. But I think if it's close to your core and what you really believe in, then I think it's important to do, because not everybody has the ability or the voice to do it. Let's see. Meg Erber. COVID-driven societal lockdowns in China are poised to reverberate throughout the global supply chains again. What advice should we be giving our clients on how to deal with possible inventory and supply chain issues? Man, great question. How do we deal with supply chain issues? That's like the $1 million question, maybe the $1 billion question. I think there's a couple things, Meg, and I've been doing my best to do this, but I think it's something we're going to have to say over and over and over and over again. A couple pieces of advice for our end users, but also for the distributors and suppliers in the world. Be patient, right? I think that nobody is trying out to get you. We all want to sell the product when it's in stock. Number two, have a plan B. Right? Like, I think that so many times we're dead set on this pen, right? And our clients are like that, right? And I think that this is not the time to be dead set on a specific item. Is going back, we need to go back to the goal of the promotion in the first place. Is why did we decide that we wanted to do this campaign? What was the goal of the overall campaign? As I heard Bobby Lehue say one time, how do you want your customers to feel when they get this item. And then it becomes less about this specific pen and more about, the vehicle that we're using, right? It's just whatever that might be. And then I would say past that is like be willing to be patient, but also be willing to make quick decisions, because once you know that t-shirt is in stock, you better order it because it might not be tomorrow. So I hope that answers a few of those questions. How do you, Steve Woodburn, next question has just popped up on my screen. How do you find ideas for your videos and blogs? This is always, I've asked other people who are content creators, and I find these answers to be unsatisfying sometimes, but it's true. I think that it's in the world around us. I find that when I'm talking about blogs, I do a lot of blogs about personal development and sales. So those come from conversations with the team, conversation with my kids, conversations with my wife, conversations with clients. Whenever I find something coming up more than once, then it's probably going to be a good piece of content because more than one person is asking. When it comes to videos, I think it has to do with topics around my community. I do that a lot. Whether I think a video like a trip that I'm going on would be super interesting. And then also just finally, if there's something really, really visually interesting where I'm like, oh, if I flew a drone, what would that look like? So I find that if it attracts and intrigues me, then it's probably going to be interesting content. But the reality of it is the best content comes from thinking of your end user and asking or answering the questions that they are asking you. Okay, Amelia has another question. If time wasn't an issue, is there any new content you'd like to create? Ooh, that's a good one. I think what you're seeing is a shift to shorter and shorter content. And I think that's really cool. I don't have time to do all the TikTok and all the other short form stuff. To be honest, I think if I'd be doing more long form stuff again via YouTube, more sort of documentary style interviews, things that can dig a little bit deeper. I think we got a lot of stuff that goes shallow right now. I would be more interested in working on something that goes a little deeper. Let's see. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. I hope I haven't gone too fast. Okay, what about tech? Rich Graham, mic, camera, etc. I'll take my answer off the air. No, I love it. So let's see, tech camera right now. I am using just I have a MacBook, and it is just the camera on the MacBook. Those cameras are really good. I think that when you come outside of that, I think, we've got some high-end cameras, but a lot of the vlogs, if you watch my vlog, you will see I'm shooting it with a phone. This camera is so much better than the camera I had when I first started. That was a $40,000 camera, and it weighed 60 pounds and was on my shoulder. And they have so much flexibility and so much, the sort of the mobility, and they shoot such good things. Now, sometimes you could do better stuff with audio or whatever, but I think that our tools become an excuse to not do things. I'm telling you right now, if you own a phone, whether it's Android or Apple, the camera on this thing is going to shoot better than you need. Like, I think that, they all say that a bad carpenter blames his tools. So I would say that if you have a camera right now on you in a phone, you can create content. What is your favorite content that you are consuming right now? Joel Moore asks. You know what? It depends. It depends on where I am. So what I mean by that is, like, if I'm on a run or if I'm, driving, then audiobooks and podcasts. And that's honestly, it's funny. I listen to podcasts. We're moving more and more into a video world. I actually don't watch a lot of podcasts because usually when I'm watching, I am at the office. I want to do a deep dive where I'm just thinking about it. I listen to podcasts when I'm kind of on the go. When it comes to the office, YouTube is where I spend a lot of my time. I think that's one of the reasons I love to create YouTube videos, is because that's what I'm consuming. And so for me, that's what I'm doing a ton of, is both YouTube and podcasts. And then just as a side note, I subscribe to Seth Godin's blog, so I get that notification. And every single morning, that is how I start my day. One of my goals is to push in good each day. And Seth Godin makes me think every morning, and I appreciate that. And so those are the pieces that I am consuming on a regular basis. I don't think I did answer the mic question for Rich. There was the blue snowball, but there's also, I think it's called the Ninja. And so I use those. Those are, let me see if I can grab this really quick. It's a big microphone that looks like this. And I find that the sound on that is really, really good. So from a podcast, and that's what I've got one hanging right here that you can't see. And I find that the audio on it's really good. So hopefully that helps. All right. It's hard to believe we've been doing this for 21 minutes. And these are always like really, really fun for me to do. So I genuinely appreciate everybody's time and attention. If you have any questions for me or any other piece of content you'd like to see me create or a topic you'd like for me to cover on my blog, feel free to reach out to me. Would love to hear you on social. And like I said, if you want to check out the blog, obviously a lot of the content I create is right here at promocorner.com. Love what they're doing here. And then you can find a little bit more at kirbyhossman.com. So I hope that answers your question. And I hope we'll have to do this again sometime. Meg, thanks. I think it was fun too. And thank you guys. I really appreciate it. That's going to wrap up this edition, this live edition of Ask Kirby for Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you guys next time.